Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold, and this week, episode 54, we'll be making a tofu and cauliflower in a Kolhapuri sauce. Kolhapuri sauce. That's what it's called. I saw this. This is also in the 15-day plant-based challenge. I think it's day 13 or day 14. Day 14, I believe, of the plant-based challenge. The SREG, that's the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. sreg.org, links on the screen. And today we're going to be making that. I haven't made this before, so it's going to be a rare treat for both of us. See how it goes. It's all you're using is an extra firm tofu. It'll be cubed, some cauliflower, which will be chopped up, and that's going to be mixed up with a bunch of spices, which include garlic, ginger, some lime juice, and some, let's see, I've got here some turmeric and some cayenne pepper. So that's what's going in there, a little bit of salt. That's what's going to go in there. We're going to bake that in the oven on a silicone sheet, or you can do it on parchment paper. And then I am going to be making up a sauce, which we'll be using to cook it in later. And that's going to be made up of some tomatoes, some garam masala sauce, some cinnamon stick, a little bit of cloves and bay leaves, and some lime juice. I'm not sure when that comes in. It also has some sesame seeds and coconut in that. That's the main ingredients. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a lot of chopping, and then I'll be back in a minute. But I'm going to be cutting up cubing up the tofu and chopping up the cauliflower, and then getting all ready to mix it all together when I come back in a bit. Well, as you can see, I've chopped up the cauliflower and I cubed up the tofu, so it's nicely ready to go. And now I'm just going to be blending up the spices that are going to go in there. And it's half of the spices that are going to be going in there, so that's what I've got already. The first part is 5 cloves of garlic that have been finely chopped up, kind of minced. I'm putting that into this little bowl here. And I'm going to be adding in about an inch of ginger, a little bit more maybe, just that I've put in there and got that organized. I'm putting that in there, and I'll be adding in now some about a half teaspoon, or actually I think it's a half teaspoon of turmeric into that, and half teaspoon of turmeric. And I'll be putting in some cayenne pepper, which is another half teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a third of a teaspoon actually, according to this recipe. So let's be gentle in that. Just have a heaping half teaspoon size, and a half teaspoon of salt. Let's see if I can get this out right. You know what? Do it like that. Got that, half teaspoon of salt. And it's going to have a little bit of the lime juice, and I'm going to have 2 teaspoons, I believe it is, 2 teaspoons of lime juice. So it's not a lot. So I've got this a half teaspoon spoon here. So I'll do 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to mix this together. If it is too thick, then what I'll be doing is adding a little bit of water to it. But that's what I'm going to be doing, is just mixing this up. I have mixed up the spices with the garlic and the ginger. It said blend them, and I'm not sure whether it was supposed to be in a blender or not. But we're going to be mixing this into with the cauliflower and the tofu, and I thought, probably not necessary. So I'm going to, we'll find out, do this. I'm going to be putting this on top. About half of that mix is going onto this. I think the other half is going to be saved for later. So I'm just going to be putting in half right now and toss this around, get it coated as much as I can. And then I'll be putting this into the oven at 400 degrees for 25 to 28 minutes is what the instructions say. You can see it. I've heated up some oil in a saucepan, a little bit of oil in there. I'm going to be putting in some coriander. Now it says to put in coriander seeds. I didn't have any coriander seeds, so I'm going to be putting in some coarse coriander, and that's going to be a half teaspoon of coriander. I'm going to heat that up in the oil, and a half teaspoon of black peppercorns. So we're putting in some black peppercorns into there, getting that heated up, as well as a bay leaf, and I had, I don't know, I had a broken bay leaf that was falling around, so I'm going to get that broken bay leaf in there, and I'm going to be mixing this around. Just getting this thing, just get this mixed up, warmed up a little bit. All right, I'm also going to be adding in the cinnamons and the cloves. So that's all going into that little bit of oil. It's only a half teaspoon of oil, or a teaspoon of oil, not really a lot. I'm going to put in just a tad little bit more, just so it has a little bit more oil in there. And just give it a little bit more, get that, mixing that in there, letting that heat up. And it says until the aroma comes off. Turn that fan off. Oh, and you can definitely smell it. Lots of flavor in there. Okay. Next up, we're going to be adding in an onion. So I've chopped up one onion, sliced up one onion, not chopped it up. So I've sliced up an onion. That's going in there. Although I did have a little bit that got chopped. I'm just going to be putting that into this and heating that up. Oh, there's such a mix of flavors and aromas. Wow, that's amazing. I'm going to be putting in a quarter teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to be cooking those until the onions are transparent. The onions are turning nicely translucent, so now I'm going to be adding in, I think it's 2 teaspoons, 1 teaspoon. Let's see. Sesame seeds. Now I'll be adding in 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds. And letting that mix that in. And the leftover garlic mixture from this morning, from the earlier session, where we made it for the coating for the tofu and cauliflower. So I'm just going to be mixing that in now. This is the other half of the mix. Now that was supposed to cook for about a minute, and I think it has. And the next step is to add in the tomatoes, some coconut, and I think the garam masala sauce. So this is 2 medium tomatoes. I had 1 large tomato, and I had some small little ornamental ones, so I used those. And 2 teaspoons of coconut, just a dried coconut. Get that in there. And I believe is a half teaspoon of the garam masala spice. And now I'm just going to mix that around for a little bit, just to get everything coated, and then I'm going to cover it and let it cook for a little bit. Now the next step. Okay, so this has been cooking. I'm just going to turn the heat down a bit, and I'm going to take out the bay leaf. Okay, there's 1 bay leaf, and there should be another half bay leaf. And I think that's it right there. There we go. Half bay leaf. There we go. Okay, so this is all going to go into mixing it in with 1 cup of water. It's going into a little container here, which I'm going to use an immersion blender for that. Well, as you can see, I got all of the goodies out of the frying pan. I'm going to now use my immersion blender to mix it all up. I probably should have used a proper blender. So what I ended up doing is doing the immersion blender, but I had to take out the cinnamon stick because it was not breaking down, and I took it out, chopped it up a little bit, and then put the blender back in there, and it was all fine. So now I'm going to put this back into the saucepan. I'm going to put it back on medium heat. And it said the instructions have to rinse out the blender with a quarter cup of water. Seeing as how I didn't use a blender, I'm not going to put the water in here. I don't need to. Just use a spatula to get the extra goodies out of here. But I'm going to put that extra quarter cup of water into the sauce because it was part of the recipe. So I want to make sure that it's included. And the bay leaves go back in. So I'm going to put the bay leaves back in and add in, as I said, that quarter cup of water. And then just heat this up, bring it to a simmer. And just the salt for flavoring, and then I'm going to put the tofu and the cauliflower mix in there, and I'm going to mix it around. So that sauce is nice and hot, and the cauliflower and the tofu, I believe, are done. They've been in there for about 26 minutes. I'm going to just take them out now and put them into this fry pan with that Kolhapuri sauce. And I'm going to be mixing it around, making sure that they all get nicely covered. And then I'm going to let it simmer. I'm going to put the lid on it, let it simmer for about 2 to 4 minutes, somewhere in that time frame. So I want to make sure it picks up all the flavor, not just from the not just in the sauce, but also into the tofu and the cauliflower. And that's a key thing when you're cooking with tofu, is that you want to make sure that you get as much flavor into it. One of the things that you do always is press out as much liquid as you can at the start, so that I did have the tofu and I pressed it. It's an extra firm tofu. I pressed it for, they said 5 minutes. I just pressed it as hard as I can and then let it sit and then press it again. So I get it out and I press it into a towel, dish towel, and let it get as much out of it as I can. And it seems to work for me. You know, everyone has their own thing. So I'm just going to have this at medium heat. That up a little bit. It's nicely coated. The bay leaves are still in here. And everything looks delightful. Well, let's just get this out of the way. Or not. And let that sit. And just cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. And I'll be right back. Well, as you can see, I took the frying pan off the stove and I've let it sit for a little bit. It says, this was interesting. The guidance on the menu said that if you let these types of foods, you know, in South Asian foods and stuff like that, the spicier foods, let them sit for a while and serve them. The longer they sit, the spicier that they get. So we'll see how this worked. Now, meanwhile, I'm going to take the lid off. And I had made up some rice, so I have some fresh white rice, nothing special. I'm going to put a little bit of this cauliflower and tofu hakpuri sauce on there. I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on there so I can taste it. And we'll see how this goes. Here we go. I'm going to do the big reveal here. Get a little bit of tofu and cauliflower in this with some rice and some sauce. We'll see how it goes. Well, now I can taste the heat. Just had to let it go down the throat a little bit. A little bit of salt. I think I have to put a little more salt in. My wife doesn't like salt, so I'm not going to put any in there. But for her, I think I just owe it service myself a little bit of salt, more salt. Wow, you're really getting the flavor on the tongue. Yeah. So there you have it. Cauliflower and tofu hakpuri sauce on some rice, and it's just absolutely delicious. There you have it for this week's edition of The Unorthodox Vegan. Again, my name is Sean Gold. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me up here on my email address at vrcompanions@gmail.com. And please follow me on my YouTube channel. That's The Unorthodox Vegan, which is www.youtube.com/@the_unorthodox_vegan. Until next time, have yourself a wonderful day. Bye for now.